2025, the year of fluency, where we are going to discuss and implement input driven practices. Earlier, I have talked a lot about mirror technique, talking to yourself. Definitely, these are very important techniques, but there are few problems with talking to yourself and mirror technique. What are those? Because in those techniques, you are the judge of yourself, you are the critic of yourself, you are only person who is evaluating his own mistakes, and chances are greater that you repeat the same words, vocabulary, sentence patterns and sentence structures over and over again, and you are also repeating the mistakes time and again. And when you come across an actual conversation, what happens then? You make the same mistakes and then you feel embarrassment. So I thought that why should I not make a video on input driven mistakes, input driven practices, and number two, how much time you have to consume to learn English language. What is the ideal time duration to learn English language? The third most important point I am going to discuss in this video is what type of content is the best content to learn English language. Because nowadays you can see there are lots and lots of information coming towards us through social media. Either it is through WhatsApp, Facebook, YouTube, in Netflix, and there are so many movies and TV shows. Now it's very difficult for us as a learner to choose which is the best content for us to learn English language. So your problem is going to solve here now. Now the very important key point here in this video which I am going to start is that because those techniques, mirror technique and talking to yourself techniques, are the best techniques for initiation the process, for beginning the process. But as you step forward, these techniques are no more useful because you have to implement these input driven practices. Input driven practices. Now you acquire two types of knowledge. One is conscious knowledge and the second is unconscious knowledge. Conscious knowledge is not automatic. This is non-automatic knowledge. And unconscious knowledge is your automatic knowledge. For example, when you come across to watch a movie, your purpose is to get the information. Your purpose is to get the information. You are not concerned about the patterns, sentences of the language. But your unconscious brain picks up all these patterns. Because when you acquire this knowledge by conscious effort, now your brain is entangled. Now this is your brain is entangled. Where it is entangled? Because your conscious brain gives you the information while conversation. Very important point you have to understand. Your brain gives you the information to convey ideas, knowledge. But if you haven't developed this unconscious knowledge, now your conscious brain, your conscious knowledge has to give you the extra information of grammar, tenses, form of verb. Now two processes cannot be done simultaneously by your brain. And here goes the gap. This means that you have to develop this unconscious brain, unconscious knowledge by automatic process so that you can access to the information by your conscious part of the brain and then you can deliver it in the most emphatic language suitable for your speech. So these two parts are important, but you have to develop this part. Unconscious brain or unconscious knowledge does not mean that you are sleeping and you are acquiring the knowledge. This doesn't mean. But there is a specific process which I am going to share with you. This is the so important concept because this unconscious brain, unconscious knowledge is the breeding ground for your fluency. Because when you are going to deliver your ideas, deliver your knowledge, it is your unconscious brain which supports you with your language, which supports you with your language and its intricacies like vocabulary, grammar, tenses, each and everything. It means that unconscious brain gives you the structure, gives shapes. Now your unconscious brain gives shape. What kind of shape? To your knowledge. When shape and knowledge are combined together, you will see a tremendous, a drastic change in your fluency. And that is the ideal combination. Now the question arises here is that how to develop this unconscious knowledge. Because all we know that conscious knowledge can be gained when you are reading the book in your classroom, when you are deliberately, when you are consciously taking your grammar book and you are learning the grammar rules, you are attending the grammar class. When you are in the classroom, whether it is physical, whether it is offline, this is your conscious knowledge development. This is not automated. This is not automated. This is not natural. You should not rely on this. You should have to develop this. Now, how can you develop this? Now, there are two processes. There are two methods, two ideal methods. Number one, input-driven practices. Number two, listening. Number two, listening. Now, what kind of listening and how much of the listening? As much listening as you can. What time or how much time you should devote to learn this language? The answer is quite obvious. If you are free for 30 minutes, devote 30 minutes wholeheartedly to listen. Why I am stressing on this listening point? Because when you listen again and again and lots of content, actually you are gaining the rhythm. You are gaining the rhythm, your back of mind, your unconscious brain, your subconscious brain develops the rhythm, the intonation, the patterns, the structures of the language unconsciously. And you are not aware of that. Now your brain is going to be developed. This is the most important part. Another thing which you have to do is listen. Number two is input driven practices. Now what are these input driven practices? Input driven practices mainly consist of shadowing and imitation. Now shadowing and imitation, and what kind of topic you have to select, what kind of videos you have to select. My advice here is that you should choose the videos of native speakers, whether it is podcast, whether these are the movies, dramas, TV shows of native speakers. And if they are of quite long length, you have to cut it short and you have to watch and listen only for 2 to 3 minutes for multiple times. Now your conscious brain will pick up the information which is embedded in the content, and your unconscious brain will pick up all the language intricacies. Now these things are embedded together, are joined together to give you a comprehensible approach not only to learn language but to deliver it emphatically. Hope you are understanding what I am trying to convey. Now what if, for example, if it is imitation is the most powerful tool. But remember, one thing you have to remember, you have to add your emotions. If you are emotionally adding or emotionally involved, if you are acting as if you are one of the person, you are the same person who is going through this speech, you will see you are not only copying the words, information, sentence structures, but you are doing it with rhythm, with tone, and with intonation. And you will see that your body language, your facial expressions, your hand gestures, even the brightness of your eyes, even the brightness of your eyes will support your concept. This is the power of unconscious knowledge. This is the power of input driven practices. Very important technique. You have to apply this technique. Now, what type of content you have to consume? The type of content which is best to consume English language is the content you enjoy the most. Because if you do not enjoy, you will be distracted either to use some other app, either to use some other videos. You will just scroll down the videos because you are not enjoying. Your whole concentration is on learning English language, on learning English language as a subject. Remember, learning English language as a subject was your main interest in your classroom. How much you gain that knowledge of English language? Of course, you didn't perform well. That's why you are still hankering after this learning of English language. Now, this is the most important thing, and you have to apply this input driven practices. And if you apply this input driven practices, you will see you are not repeating the same words. You are time and again exposed to a variety of vocabulary words, new words, emphatic words, and the most diverse words to give your expression of thoughts. So this is the today's thought. Hope you have liked the video and the concept which I have told you, because this is the only method to gain unconscious brain, to develop unconscious knowledge, and to gain fluency in English language. All other methods are important, but the problem with those methods are that you are the judge of those methods. Now you have to rely on this input driven practices, and if you have comprehended and if you are already practicing this input driven practices, let me know in comment box. And if you really like this concept, share it with those people who really need this concept. So till the next video, stay happy, stay blessed. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.